Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing our July wrap-up and August TBR sitting down version because I've been sick for the past few days. Today I feel a little bit better, but I really wanted to film this and get this done. Let's jump into it. I read 11 books in August, 6 romance books, 4 mystery thriller, and 1 general fiction. The first 3 books were from my June TBR, but I didn't finish them until July, so they're on this wrap-up. First, we have Long Shot, which is a book that you guys were really looking forward to me reading and sharing my thoughts. I really liked the writing in this. It was a very simple, very basic writing. I did see some people saying that they liked how poetic the writing was. I don't think it was poetic literally at all. I think this was just the most straightforward writing there could possibly be. It was not overly flowery, and there was not a very vast vocabulary, which I think was actually perfect considering what I think the demographic for this book would be. I gave this 5 stars, I think mostly for the messaging of abuse. Also, before you read this, the trigger warnings are lengthy, and not only does it talk about such abuses, but it goes into heavy detail, explicit detail of how the abuses are taking place. So be really careful because it's kind of difficult to read. If you've ever known anybody who's been in an abusive relationship, I think that you will think that this message is so important because there are a lot of women that think it could never be me, and you just never know. Sometimes you just don't know. You don't know how you would react in a situation like this. You don't know that sometimes the red flags don't happen until after you're locked down, until after they have complete control of your life. And I feel like she did a really good job of showing the complexities of abusive relationships and how they can actually be. And this is a fictional work, although she did interview some women and I think weaved their stories throughout this book. So she didn't just go into it blind. Like, these are actual real stories woven into a fictional character. It's hard because it's not like I necessarily enjoyed reading about it. Like, it was an enjoyable thing. It wasn't like a fun thing to read about. I love how she also gave the female main character responsibility in her choices, because sometimes in abusive relationships you ignore the red flags thinking that you can change them, or maybe they'll get better once you give them certain things that they want. And it just showed how ignoring those red flags can sometimes lead to situations that you actually don't want to be in, but by then it's too late. And so I like that there was no victim blaming, of course, but she did give Iris responsibility in her bad decision making. Bad decisions will heed bad consequences. And so I just really like the messaging in it. 5 stars. And I read The Housemaid's Secret, and I think I liked this one more than the first book. I gave this 4 stars. I feel like it was the perfect Frida McFadden twisty mystery thriller. There was suspense, there was mystery, and there was a thrilling aspect to it. And I really just liked everything about it. Of course, I can't say too much about it because it will just spoil the entire book for you guys. But I thought the storyline was great, the plot was great, and just very typical, comfy Frida McFadden twisty thriller. Great, 4 stars. Then I read The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and I believe I gave this one 4 stars as well. I think my experience with it was more of a 3-star experience, but I feel bad giving it a lower rating just because of like my personal experience with it. I think that this was too YA for me. After I discovered Annabelle Monaghan, I like that Annabelle Monaghan writes adult romances that are still clean, closed door, no spice, etc. This is a YA romance, and although it's clean, no spice, closed door, all of that, the characters are in high school, and so I feel like that was just a little bit too young for me. I ended up trying to switch my perspective into reading it from like a nostalgic perspective of like how I was in high school, and that did make me enjoy it a little bit more because it made me think of like how I used to talk to boys when I was in high school, and the boys I had crushes on, and like the weird things you do when you're just like in high school and you like a boy. So it was really nostalgic, and I liked it for those reasons. There's another book I own by her, and I will definitely read it to give it a try, but I don't know that I would buy any more from Lynn Painter just because it's young adult, and I don't know, am I aging out of a young adult at this point? Like, I like young adult mystery, but I don't know if I like young adult romance. This is a Groundhog's Day trope, and I will say that it was not boring at all. Groundhog's Day trope is basically when the characters are reliving the same day over and over again, and this is a Valentine's Day Groundhog's Day. So a lot of repetitiveness, but it was a really cool story, and I did really like it. Like, now that I'm thinking back to what came of her story and the Groundhog's Day trope, I actually really liked it and thought it was a cute premise. So 4 stars to the do-over. Okay, so then the next 7 books I read in my reading 7 books in 7 days, reading 7 summer books in 7 days. So if you want to see my reaction to like reading them in real time, head to that video. The best part about a reading wrap up at the end of the month is that these are like my really sunken in final thoughts. So sometimes my ratings and reviews kind of change after I've posted a video and I've kind of sat on a book for a little bit. For example, I read The Castaways. I originally felt like this was just kind of a 2-star read, but the more I think about it, I think I'd bump it up to more of like a 2.5. Almost 3. This was hard for me because there were so many characters introduced, and I normally don't have a hard time. I feel like I've read over 100 books at this point. I understand complexities in storylines and plots and characters, but there was something with this one where the characters were just not sticky. There were attributes to them, but they were not sticking in my mind. And it almost felt like, you know, when you meet somebody and their name just doesn't match their face, like you would just think that their name's something else. You know what I mean? That's how I felt with this. Like the whole time I'm just like, okay, so this is the chief. But for some reason, it's not like snapping in my brain. And so for that reason, it made the story so hard to follow, because this entire book, we're following 4 couples. And that's the plot. That's the story. You're following 4 couples. They're on this island. They're on Nantucket. And one of the couples has died in a boating accident and left their 2 kids behind with the 3 other couples. And so then we're going through all the drama, all the cheating, all of that. And so you need to know who the couples are, what their story is, what their background is, who they're married to, in order to follow along with the story at all. And something about how the characters were written just was not really doing it for me. But I would still recommend this book, because I don't know if Ellen Hildebrand has ever written a bad book. Like, I really don't. I really don't. It was still enjoyable in so many ways, but the characters, it was so hard to like really jump into it because it was so hard to track. Whereas when I read The Perfect Couple, which I gave 5 stars, there's actually more characters in this book, but this one is so much easier to track. The characters are sticky. You have faces to people, names, you know, their background, what they're wearing, how they're like, you just can follow along so much better. So I think that she just became a more skilled writer when she wrote this book, I think. I gave this one, again, 5 stars. I almost would give this like, no, I would give it 5 stars. I was gonna say 6, but 5 stars, no notes. There's nothing I would change about this book. I love the length of it. It is an almost, what, 600 page, almost 500 page. This is like a mystery. This is in the mystery genre when I gave my stats, but this is a major romance mystery. There's a wedding on Nantucket and maid of honor has died. So again, it's a typical Ellen novel. All these couples, there's cheating, there's infidelity, there's lies, there's rumors, sketchy people, and the beautiful background of Nantucket. I just liked it a lot. I love the pacing and timing of this. Although it is almost 500 pages, the pacing and timing in this is perfect. She did a great job of not harping too long on one single aspect or on one single topic or plot of the story. All perfectly distributed across 500 pages. And then of course in the last like 100 pages you really get that like, okay, you're gonna find out who done it, and it's just perfect. 5 stars. Then I read Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, and I think Annabelle Monaghan is my new favorite author. I read Summer Romance by her, which I cannot shut up about across all my social media. Literally can't shut up about it. Like, anybody asks for a book rec, I'm telling them Summer Romance. It's so good. I love that there's no spice, but there is like the perfect amount of tension. Like, there's no explicit scenes of anything being described. They're bingeable, they're short, they're quick, they're witty, like true, genuine, like acts of service and words of affirmation. It's not cringy. The dialogue is perfect, the banter is perfect, the flirting, like everything about it is perfect. I feel like her characters are how real people who like each other or are in love actually act towards each other, versus like sometimes in other romance books it's really exaggerated in order to make the story fun, which sometimes I really like, but sometimes I love reading a romance book that it's very realistic. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I can actually see my husband saying these things or doing these things, and I can actually see myself responding that way or feeling that way or saying those things too. Also, her writing is so highlightable. I was showing in the vlog that I read this book in, like in the beginning, it was like every other page I was highlighting something in it, and it was just really, really sweet. I think once I got more towards the end, there wasn't as much that I highlighted, but it was still so perfect. Like, I really loved it. 5 stars. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I gave this one 3 stars. I liked it. The hard part about this one is there was no major takeaway from it. Like, I just liked it. It was a cute, fun, lighthearted romance. It was a little bit spicier than I was expecting. Like, I really did not see that coming at all. It was a lot spicier than I thought. I haven't heard anybody say that this book was spicy, but compared to like my other romance books that I read this month, like, this was the spiciest of them all. I wouldn't say like, oh my gosh, it's a spicy book, like so spicy, but compared to my reading taste, this was like kind of jarring for me. And for those reasons, meh. Not only that, but also like the story was fun, but there wasn't any huge takeaway from it. Like, I didn't think that the romance was all that great. I don't feel like the setting of Prince Edward Island was all that great. Like, it was a good book, but it wasn't really, there's no takeaway from it. It was just a romance book, you know what I mean? So 3 stars. I kind of like reading books that have a little bit more depth to it, or at least like some part of it that I really like the setting or the tropes or something, but this one was just giving romance. That's all it was giving. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I gave this one 3 stars, but I feel like this is a completely different 3 stars than This Summer Will Be Different. I actually liked Beach Read by Emily Henry more than I liked This Summer Will Be Different. I feel like at the end of this year, I will have to tier rank all of the books I've read so far, because although some books can be rated the same star rating, they get that rating for different reasons. So I feel like this one got 3 stars because I just didn't really click with the writing that much. I actually feel like Beach Read could almost be a 4-star read for me, but my experience with it was not that of a 4-star, so I cannot give it that. I feel like the writing, something about her writing just kind of puts me in a slump. Like, it doesn't make me excited to continue reading. Like Annabelle Monaghan, from page 1, something about her writing just like sucks me in, and I'm just like, this is so good, it's so beautiful, so stunning. I love the writing. Emily Henry's writing, it just doesn't do that for me. Again, I tried to start tapping and highlighting, and the more I read, like, I was just like, no, I'm trying to make this a book that it's just not gonna be for me. I feel like everybody loves Beach Read. This is like the book that got so many people into reading during the pandemic. Like, they're obsessed with it. No guys, I don't know. I don't know if y'all are just way over exaggerating, overhyping her writing, or what. I don't know what the disconnect is, but I just don't see what y'all are seeing. And don't get me wrong, it was a really pretty book. It was a really good book, but a 3-star book, just to be completely real with you. We're following January and Augustus Everett. January's dad has just passed away, and he has left this home in this like beachfront cabin in Michigan, except it was like the house that him and his mistress had, but she didn't find out about the mistress until he was gone. So she has basically moved to this house to finish writing a novel that she's working on and pack up the house and sell it, except she's like in this like writing slump. Like, she cannot get traction. She has this college rival who happens to live in the cabin next to her dad's cabin. They run into each other, and again, remember, they're like rivals, academic rivals. Then you're kind of following their relationship, like from hating each other to they end up obviously becoming lovers. And then they strike up this kind of bet. She thinks that he thinks that her writing romance novels is like super easy, and that she kind of just lives in La La Land. So they challenge each other to write a book based on the other person's genre. So he writes, like, if somebody wrote a book about, like, okay, happy shiny people, or whatever that documentary is. If somebody wrote a book like that, like kind of centered around the Duggars and Mormonism and all of that, like, what would you call that book? What genre would that be? Okay, anyway, he writes kind of books like that, and she writes romance books. So they do this challenge where they swap genres for the summer. So you're kind of following that whole, like, that's a fun little aspect. As I'm explaining this book, it sounds like all the things that I would eat up, like absolutely yes, but the writing did not match the plot or the premise. Like, the plot premise is here, the writing was here for me. Something about it just does not click with me. It does not scratch that itch in my brain to be like, yes, keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. I think once I got to like the 35% mark, it did start picking up a lot for me. And once I got to that point, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of exciting. But it was only because I was so driven by wanting her, January, to confront the mistress. Because this home in Michigan is obviously there because that's where she lives. So that's really what I wanted to get to. I wanted to see her confront the mistress woman and see what she had to say. And I did, that part did eat. She delivered on that part. After I got done with this book, it made me realize like that was the only thing I was really looking forward to in this book. People are like, Augustus is my book boyfriend. Like, oh my gosh, Augustus Everett forever. What, I don't know, what did he really do that was all that great or all that romantic? I don't know. I just did not see it. I did not feel like, I don't know. I didn't feel it. I did not think that like, wow, he's so romantic. He's so awesome. Like, love him. Like, fave book character. No. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Beach Read. 3 stars. Then I listened to 3 audiobooks. The first one was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I gave that one a 2 star. Guys, what was that book? Genuinely, what was that book? Again, I don't want to give too much away because it's like Frida McFadden, you know it's going to be mystery thriller, and I almost don't even like reading the premise because then you get too much background. And that one, I felt like she was just trying really hard to put these plot twists in that just did not make sense. And I feel like people give mysteries and thrillers a low rating because they're like, oh, I guessed that from page 10. I don't know if that's why we should give mysteries and thrillers a low rating, because when there's like a homicide or something happens in the real world, the police are able to figure out what happened based on evidence, but also based on routine, based on how people typically do things. But then I feel like mystery and thriller writers could be incentivized to make the plot so messy and confusing so that readers can't say that they guessed it and then give their book a low rating. I feel like she made the book not make sense at all so that people couldn't guess it. But it's like, well, people didn't guess it because it just didn't make sense at all. Like, the plot twist didn't, like, they just don't make, it doesn't make sense. You finish the book and then you reread the first 30 pages and you're like, what? That's like what murderers typically do. They follow a certain pattern, and that's why they get found out. Like, that's why it's hard to get away with like murdering somebody. So I need that to track in books as well. Like, I don't think we should be like, oh, and she drank the water, oh, she loved the color blue, and like we're alluding to water and the color blue. But then we get to the end and it's like, that actually didn't have anything to do with the book at all. You're just trying to like trick us into thinking that that mattered. And just like an overemphasis on random details. And as you're reading, you're thinking like, okay, I'm trying to piece it together, trying to figure it out. And then you get to the end and it's like, that actually didn't have anything to do with the ending at all. I don't think I like that. I like that I need there to be some kind of pattern, some kind of storyline to follow, and no trickery from the author of like trying to trick the reader into being like, yeah, pay attention to this, but really this thing, you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't really make sense. I think I rated it 2 stars. Like, it just did not make sense to me. Then I read Darling Girls, which I think on the front of it, it says like a suspenseful page turner. No. I coined the term slow burn mystery. I've never heard anybody say that, and I don't even know if that's really a thing, but that's how this one felt. I kept waiting to get to the thriller part, the suspense part, and it never came. Thrilling page turner of sisterhood, secrets, love, and murder by New York Times bestselling author Sally Hepworth. I don't see where this was thrilling whatsoever. Mystery, yes. Thriller, no. I don't see where it was thrilling. And I actually listened to this one on Audible, so you would think that it would be even more like thrilling listening to it. Like, I would be kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of scared to turn off the lights, I'm kind of scared to go to bed. No, I literally kept waiting, like, hello, when is the suspense gonna come in? It never came. This would be fine, but the mystery part was so dumb to me. Like, I just did not care about these characters at all. We're following these sisters that grew up in this house And then as they're like excavating the house or something, they find a buried body. They were really abused by the foster mom of this house, which is why they were living in this house. And now they're all grown and living their lives, but they're like all kind of messed up in their own ways. So she like walks us through each individual girl and how they are now when their current boyfriends. And I just like, I don't care. I literally don't care. It just was not convincing at all. I think that is the problem. It was not convincing. I didn't even need it to be realistic, but I needed to feel like I was reading about a real murder mystery, and to me it just felt so made up and so fake, and I just didn't care about literally any aspect of it. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, and then I read Sandwich by Catherine Newman, and I gave this 1 star. I can't even remember the last time I gave a book. Actually, I can't remember. I normally don't give books 1 star though. That's like crazy to me. That's a crazy rating to give a book 1 star, but I just did not like this at all. It was so politically charged that I was just like, I feel like the author literally wrote it to just give these characters random attributes so that she could talk about her political agenda, political beliefs. I don't like, as a reader, feeling like I was kind of tricked into something. It gives Tom Lake by Anne Patchett vibes in the beginning, as far as like you're following the story of a family going on a family vacation to Cape Cod, and at first it's like, it's really pretty and it's fun and it's like, okay, family vacation, they're going for a week, her parents meet them there, so we're like following this full family. She has 2 daughters, a son, and then her parents come, and then she's married on Cape Cod, and like they rent this house out and it's so pretty, and then before you know it, like you're literally just reading about her uterus for hundreds of pages, I think, at this point. In the beginning, it's like really relatable, reading about like her problems getting pregnant and their marital problems, and you're like, wow, this is like a really like beautiful story, and she's talking to her daughters. But then as you keep reading, they're just like, they keep still mentioning the pregnancies, and then they end up mentioning abortions, and then she got an abortion and hid it from her husband for 20 years. 20 years. That's crazy. He was not abusive, like she just didn't tell him. I do not understand. I don't get it. And then she comes to say like she regrets the abortion, but then her daughter is like, no, you can't, you're not allowed to say that you regret it. I was just like, literally, what am I reading? She literally hid it from her. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't support it. I don't like it. And I also did not like that. Okay, sure, that could be a part of the story, but like the fact that we were forced to read about it for, I think like over half the book was literally about her reproductive life. And it's not marketed as a pregnancy, motherhood story. We're supposed to be following the family, and yet like almost the entire book focused on her uterus. And so for that reason, 1 star. I feel like as a reader, I was bamboozled. I wasted my listening Spotify hours on listening to her political beliefs around all of that, and didn't appreciate it. So 1 star. Okay, that is all 11 books that I read in the month of July. It's time to pick the TBR jar. I have my little prompts in here. Last month I picked 6, I think. I almost want to pick 8 this month, even though I don't read all of them. I like having more to pick from. I felt like last month 6 to choose from was just not enough variety, in my opinion. Prompt 1. Bad cover. That's kind of savage. I also redid my shelves. Can you guys tell? Cute, right? I'm actually really in a reading mood right now. That's like, oh, this is such a cute cover. Not a bad cover, but very cute. Not bad. I don't want to pick a bad cover. I don't buy ugly books. Actually, you know the books that probably have the worst covers? Colty and wait for it. I mean, now that I'm looking at Colty, okay, it's a field. Actually, I do get that. Okay, but this, what is this? I don't even know what that is on there. So I think we're gonna go with wait for it, because like, okay, this kind of is a bad cover, and I actually think that they just redid her covers. So, and but I kind of love, the thing about me is I kind of love having like OG covers, so I'm not mad at it, but it's probably the ugliest cover of the books I own. It also just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. Diana Casilla can admit she doesn't know what she's doing half the time. How she's made it through the last 2 years of her life without killing anyone is nothing short of a miracle. Being a grown-up wasn't supposed to be so hard. With the new house, 2 little boys she inherited the most painful possible way, a giant dog, a job she usually loves more than enough, family and friends, she has almost everything she could ever ask for. except for a boyfriend or a husband. But who needs either one of those? Fun. Book number 2. That was actually a fun one. A book that's been on your shelf for over a year. Another good one. Conversations with Friends. Oh, you know what's been on my shelf for over a year? All the Light We Cannot See. This is the book that's been on my shelf for over a year. Okay, I bought this actually on my birthday. Caitlin took me to Barnes on my birthday one year, like 2-3 years ago. And this is a historical fiction. So I'm excited because I've been wanting to read this for a long time. Prompt number 3, a one-word title. We have Babel, Educated by Tara. I think I'm gonna go with Educated by Tara Westover because I've really been wanting to read a memoir. So we're gonna go with this one. It's named one of the best books of the year by like a ton of people. #1 bestseller, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Boston Globe. One of President Obama's favorite books of the year. Like, I need to read this. I feel like everyone's read this. Prompt number 4, a meaningful book. I love these. I'm over here like, I love these prompts. I'm the one that wrote them. Okay. I like that would have to be kind of like either a classic or a memoir. Although, of course, you guys know, I find meaning in all of the books I read. But if I like want a really meaningful book, I'm not gonna pick up Akatar. You know what I mean? We have Michelle Obama's memoir. We have Viola Davis's memoir. We have Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, Viola Davis's memoir. Gloria, my friend Gloria told me that this was really beautiful, so I'm excited to read it. Prompt number 5. The colors don't mean anything, by the way, in case you were wondering. They're all just vibes. Mood read. Wow, okay. All my hundreds of books, I can pick whatever one I want. I kind of want to pick a book that I feel like you guys probably don't hear a lot of people talking about recently. So my initial want is to come to my general fiction area and pick either Beartown, or Notes on an Execution. But I feel like you guys probably would want to hear my thoughts on Notes on an Execution more. I feel like you guys probably hear less about Notes on an Execution. So far I'm thinking this. Or mystery thriller, I'm kind of thinking Resurgence. I feel like this could be really good by Blake Crouch. I really want to read both. I wish I was on live right now so you guys could tell me which one I should choose. Okay, I think I'm gonna do Resurgence. I think so. Okay, don't be mad at me. Okay, 2 more. Let's pick a pink one. Most hyped book on my TBR. I'm a booktube girly, so I feel like most of the books I own are because they're so hyped, which I'm not mad at. Let's see what we have. Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, another very hyped book. Honestly, probably all of my romance, so like Binding 13, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, very hyped up. Oh, wait, you know what I feel like I've heard everyone talking about lately? The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Is it my most hyped book on my shelf though? I don't know, I feel like some books are like equally hyped, you know? Oh, okay. We have to choose. I have to narrow it down. Okay. I'm probably missing some, but I feel like out of like all of the really hyped ones, we have to choose one out of these. All of our like algorithms are so different too. So I probably see some of these more than others, and you guys probably see some of these more than the ones I see more of. I feel like out of these, it has to be between Powerless and The Nightingale. But I feel like I've only seen a lot about Powerless lately because she just came out with the second book, or the novella. Did she come out with the second book as well? I think I have to go with The Nightingale because I feel like although Powerless is talked about a lot, I feel like as far as people's wrap-ups and recommendations, it's always The Nightingale. Like, it'll make you cry. You're gonna love it so much you have to read it. So okay, we're gonna go Nightingale. Prompt number 7, a reread. Perfect. I already know what I'm gonna read. Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. You guys probably didn't think you'd ever see me say that, but because the movie's coming out, I really want to reread it. So this is perfect. I can't believe I got this prompt because I've been literally wanting to reread it since the movie's coming out. I read it back in 2021, I think, and I think I gave it 4 stars. I don't know, guys. We'll have to reread and see what we think. Last prompt: number in the title. Do I have a number in the title? 2 Twisted Crowns. Summer of '69 by Ellen Hildebrand. Oh, The 7-Year Slip. That's a good option, The 7-Year Slip. We have some good options. Let me look at my stack. actually chose some really big books this time. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with the 7 Year Slip because I don't really have that much romance, I feel like, on my TBR. She's so pretty. 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And that's gonna be our 8th book, I believe. For our book club pick, we voted on Out on a Limb. I recently changed how my book club is set up. It's now in Patreon, and we're gonna be doing monthly calls so we can actually see each other, actually hear each other's voice. We've been doing reading sprints every day in Discord, and it's been really fun. So if you want to join us, I'll have the link down below. It's way more fleshed out than how the book club was before, and I'm just way more present, and I feel like the community is so much more tighter, which just makes it so much more fun. So links down below if you want to join. We're reading Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. Here is our TBR for the month of August. See, I just feel like having 8 books plus the book of the month book is so much better. Like, it's just more variety, and that's just easier for me to choose from during the month. Wow, she is gorgeous, stunning, beautiful. I love her so much. Okay, that's gonna bring us to the today's video. What? That's gonna bring us to the end of today's video. Thank you guys genuinely, truly, so much for watching. I'm like being so serious when I say that. Thank you for clicking on my videos and watching and liking and commenting and following me everywhere else and joining the Patreon and joining my hobby club. Like, I genuinely appreciate it so much. Like, you guys have made my dreams come true. Like, I heard somebody say this recently, like, think of your most wildest dream, your craziest dream, the dream you want to happen so much. Like, you guys have made that come true for me, and I don't take it for granted. I literally jump out of bed so excited to make videos like this and talk about books and talk about hobbies and chat with you guys and create friendships and create community. And so when I say, like, thank you for watching, I genuinely mean it. It's not just like a little outro that I say, like, I really do mean it from my heart. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.